Proverbs chapter 19, verse 21 says, "There are many plans in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel, that will stand." One translation says, "You can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will prevail." Now, Jonah was supposed to go to Nineveh to preach to them, but he decided in his own mind, in his own heart, that he was not going to do that. So he gets on a ship to go in the, if I remember right, in the opposite direction. Amen. But a storm rose and put the people on the ship in peril. He goes down there in the bottom of the ship and goes to sleep, and they awaken him. They've been praying to their God for the storm to stop, so they wake him up for him to pray to his God, and they begin to question him. And come to find out, he said, he goes, "I know why we're having a storm. I'm the problem." Yeah. And so they said, "Well, what should we do about it?" So he said, "Throw me over the rail." So they do. And then a big whale comes and swallows him, and he's there for 3 days, and he prays to God, and God makes the whale belch him up, and then he goes and fulfills his purpose. He was interrupted with his plans. His plans was to get away from what he was supposed to do, but he was interrupted by a storm and by a whale. Young Mary, she's betrothed to Joseph. I'm sure she had all her life planned out, how things were going to be, how it was going to be married, maybe have children. But then she's interrupted by an angel who tells her, "You're going to give birth to a boy who is the Son of God." Joseph is interrupted by, he's got all these plans, and he's going to have this new wife, and he's going to provide for them and have children with her, and it's going to be a fantastic life. He has a profession, looking forward, and all of a sudden he finds out she's going to have a baby, and it's not his. She comes up with this story that's unbelievable. So he's going to quietly put her away, because he knows that if anybody finds out about this, they will stone her. They'll kill her. He doesn't want that. Interrupted by this pregnancy. Shepherds are out there, and they're doing their thing, their nightly thing of watching over the sheep, and all of a sudden they're interrupted by this host of angels who tells them that there is a child born in Bethlehem. Jesus is walking to heal somebody, and all of a sudden he feels a touch on the hem of his garment. There's a woman who has been with a blood disease for 12 years, had spent all of her money on physicians, yet still suffered. She touched the hem of his garment and was made whole. Yeah. Interrupted Jesus. Paralyzed man, as Jesus was teaching, his friends tore off the roof and lowered him down in front of Jesus, interrupting Jesus in the middle of his message. Jesus is walking along one day, and he is interrupted by a man crying out to him, "Have mercy on me." Interruptions come. They come into our life. They make us sway from one way to another. In 1950, at West Side Baptist Church in Nebraska, they had 15 people in the choir. And on Wednesday nights, they would meet at about 7:15 and about 7:20, they'd begin to practice. But on this night, it was very cold, so the pastor stopped by. He lit the gas stove there to warm the building. He went on home, ate supper, got ready. They were fixing to come back when his wife noticed that the daughter had a stain on her dress. So now they had to turn around, go back to the house, get a different dress, which would make them late. Herbert lost all track of time. He was writing a letter, didn't realize what time it was, so he was late. Harvey was trying to get his two boys wrangled up because his wife was gone and he wasn't used to being in charge of the boys, and they were late. Susan was trying to finish her homework, having some difficulty in math, so she was running late. Esther and her sister Sadie were having some car problems. And the person who was going to pick them up was also running late, so they all three were going to be late. Marilyn, the pianist, had fallen asleep after dinner. Her mother, the choir director, had tried to wake her up but was having problems, so they were going to be late. Lucille was absorbed in a radio station program. And Dorothy was sitting beside her listening to the radio program too and was absorbed by it, so they were going to be late. Miss Schuler and her daughter had stopped by her mother's house before practice, which everyone knew that her mother was very chatty, so they were going to be late. Practice was scheduled for 7:20. At 7:27, the church would erupt into a ball of flames. A broken gas pipe outside the church was sparked by a fire, ignited it. The fire chief said that no one would have survived the blast. But everyone was late. There was nobody in the building at 7:27. All 15 choir members and 2 small children were saved because of God's interruptions.
Amen.
Years ago, I would put sayings on the sign, and I had done that at Blackjack. And the saying was, you want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans.
Yeah.
Our friend came, we had my, 50th birthday, something like that. She was, if you remember, I used to take care of an elderly man in Rockdale, and it was his daughter. She came to the celebration. We were standing out there talking and reminiscing about Levy, who had passed away previous years. She said, "Boy, your sign has a lot of meaning." I said, "Yeah, it's pretty good. I really like that one." She said, "No, I mean, it has a lot of meaning for me." She said, "Me and my husband," she had retired from school and he had retired from his job, and they were going to move or they had moved to Rockdale, and they were walking one evening, talking about all the plans that they were going to do now, how they were going to travel more, and they were going to stay with the aunt who has a big house, and she wanted them for it to be theirs and for them to remodel and whatever they needed to do. And they were talking about all those plans. And as they were walking, he fell over dead with a heart attack. Every detour of your life, every interruption, every valley, every low, every turn, every promotion that you didn't get, every job interview that didn't go your way, every plan that fell apart, everything that that has happened in your life, whether it be good or bad or inconvenience, God has used to mold you and make you to the person that you are today. God used those interruptions to minister to needs that you may not even know about, to speak to hearts that you may not ever realize. God always has to remind us that he is in control.
Yeah.
To humble us. It is a total reminder that we will allow God to have our life. And if we recognize that there are no mistakes in life, there are no thing as, well, it's just bad luck. That everything that is filtered through God's fingers in our life. And if we'll realize that, we'll also realize that every opportunity that we're given is to serve him, to honor him with our life.
Amen.
I want you to think about those things like that, but I also want you to think about this. Maybe the reason God changed your plans or wrecked your plans is so that your plans don't wreck you.
Yeah.
We're going to have a song.